Hello, everyone. Ben and Reed here. Today, we would like to present a little bit on Oracle object classes and subclasses. So, an object class allows you to define objects that contain both data and code. And programming using object classes is known as object-oriented programming, and it requires a different level of planning for your programs. You need to figure out how your classes are going to be structured. The data and operations within a class can be concealed so that only attributes which the developer wants to reveal can be seen. And this can mask complexity present within the class. So an example of a class, and this is a non-computer example, but let's say we wanted to model a particular kind of sandwich as a class. So here's class tuna sandwich. It has a few attributes or variables present. The bread, this is sliced wheat sandwich bread. Filling 1, 2, and 3, canned tuna fish, mayonnaise, dill pickle. And then we have some functions, and there's code behind these. So make a function makes the sandwich. Toast would toast it. Cut would cut it. I like my tuna sandwiches cut in a triangle. So it's different for this one than some other kind of sandwich. Why should we use subclasses? So if we wanted to have many different kinds of sandwiches, there's a lot of attributes that they have in common. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich has a lot of similarities to a tuna sandwich. And rather than recreating every aspect of a sandwich for each type or each class that we would want to create, we can share them by using parent classes, if you will, and subclasses. So in this case, we're making kind of a master class. This is called class sandwich. It has a variable for the type of bread, and it has a string table or kind of a V-array for the filling, which we would pass in with multiple fillings. And then those same functions, which have a lot of similarities, would exist. A subclass is defined based upon what the parent class is using. Using the under keyword. And Ben's going to go into more detail on this. The subclasses inherit the properties of the class upon which they are based, and where you wish subclass code to differ from the parent, you can utilize the overriding keyword because in the case of a Reuben sandwich, I like to cut it straight down the middle, not in a triangle. So there would be a little bit of difference there. Ben is going to take it from here.
Thank you, Reed. This week I'm going to go ahead and cover the subclass part. Subclasses basically extend the behavior of the main class, and the under keyword is used. So here I've created some code that's kind of based on the same code we use for the lab, and I have two types listed up here, and remember you drop them in the order of their inheritance. So cars T needs to be dropped before in my garage. Cars T is the subclass, and in my garage is the base type. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down to the subtype. So the subtype is cars T, and it's under my garage. So one thing you need to remember is when you make a subclass, you don't have to rename the attributes that were in the main class. So in the main class, we had object name and name. So when we call our subclass, we don't add that to when we create or replace our type. Now we do add it to our constructor function because we are going to need it, but we do not call those attributes again. You'll get an error if you do that. So once you call that, you want to remember that subtypes are really just a combination of the base code and a subclass code. And the base object body acts on the subclass attributes. So, and that's from the book. But what it really means is you're going to use the attribute that was called in the main table in your constructor function for your subclass. So in this subclass, we are calling a type called cars T because it is really something in my garage. So if you go back to in my garage, you could call a subtype of bicycles, tools, bugs that are crawling around in your garage, whatever is in your garage. Then you go ahead and you create the body of it. And then I went ahead and just created a simple table to insert this into. So you have just two pieces in this table. You have a garage ID and you have a garage item, which is going to take the output of this cars T object and in a sequence. And then we have 10 rows of cars we're going to go ahead and input. And yeah, I don't have 10 cars in my garage, but for demonstration purposes, we went ahead and put 10 in there. And then to remember about your constructor function, you have to use the keyword constructor function. You have to have the return clause must say return self as result. And it ends with a bare return statement right here. Last but not least, I want to mention is the self keywords. So self is just a way to refer to the invoking of the object when you're writing the methods. You can use the self by itself and referring to the entire object, or you can use dot notation to refer to an attribute or a method. So we're referring to an attribute here. Okay, so what we'll do at this point is we'll go down and we'll go ahead and run this and see what it does. And everything worked really good. So what I want to do really quick is just do a describe on that garage table and take a look at what's in it. So I just have two columns. I have one for really an identifier and then a garage item. So if I wanted to see what was that garage item, I could do a select garage item as item from garage. And it comes back with something kind of cool. It shows you that you have the cars T object, and then of course the object name. The name is new because that's how it was returned, and then you have your make and your model. Well, that's cool, but wouldn't it be cool if you could just pull out the values of the car and the model? Well, that's possible. We can go back to our code real quick, and we're going to uncomment this, and I have to thank Reed for showing me this, but on page 470 it talks about the treat keyword. So we have treat right here, and so treat is a function that takes a column return and treats it as an object type you designate. Without this, you're not going to be able to pull anything out of here that looks like anything. So we're going to go ahead and run this again. And what's really cool is you take something that looks like this and you end up with a column that looks like this. And there's my 10 cars that I inserted, my models. So this treat keyword is really, it's a function actually, and it really enables you to do something with this output. So that's what we have for this week, and that's subtypes in a nutshell. Thanks.